The data miners of the Vorkax Collective were notorious for their precision. Their algorithmic analysis had cataloged over 7,000 sentient civilizations across 3 galactic sectors, each meticulously classified by technological capability, resource potential, and threat assessment. Earth should have been nothing more than a footnote, a primitive planet of warring tribes, barely capable of leaving their own atmosphere, let alone posing any meaningful resistance. Dr. Krolnax Prime, the lead cinosociological analyst, ran her tentacle-like appendages across the holographic display. Humans were rated at a pathetic Class D civilization, fragmented, resource inefficient, and seemingly more interested in social media conflicts than scientific advancement. Their military capabilities were a joke, their political systems a chaotic mess of competing ideologies. The preliminary report was clear. Annexation would be swift, clean, and utterly inconsequential. What Dr. Krolnax didn't know was that humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to transform weakness into unprecedented innovation. Deep beneath the Cheyenne Mountain complex, Project Prometheus was anything but a joke. A clandestine coalition of the world's most brilliant minds had been preparing for something far beyond a typical alien invasion. Military strategists, quantum physicists, AI developers, and maverick billionaires had been working in absolute secrecy, united by a single understanding. Earth needed to be ready for anything. Dr. Samantha Rodriguez, the project's lead scientist, stood before a wall of holographic displays. Her team had spent the last decade developing technologies that defied conventional understanding. Nano-adaptive materials that could restructure themselves mid-combat. Quantum communication systems that could predict and counter alien technological incursions. Adaptive AI algorithms that learned and evolved faster than any known computational system. "They're coming," she muttered, reviewing the latest satellite data. The first Vorkax scout ships were already entering the solar system's outer boundaries. Traditional military analysts would have seen this as a moment of panic. Samantha saw it as an opportunity. Nearby, General Marcus Chen reviewed the initial defense protocols. A veteran of multiple global conflict resolution missions, he understood something the Vorkax could never comprehend. Human potential was not measured by current capabilities, but by our ability to adapt, innovate, and survive. "How long?" he asked, turning to Samantha. 48 hours until they hit Earth's orbital range. She responded, her fingers dancing across multiple holographic interfaces. "But we won't be waiting for them. We'll be ready." The Vorkax data had missed a critical factor in their analysis. Humanity wasn't just a collection of nations. It was a species defined by its capacity for rapid, unprecedented transformation. Every technological barrier was merely a challenge to be overcome. Every limitation was an invitation to innovate. In military bunkers, research facilities, and hidden shipyards across the planet, humanity was preparing a response that would rewrite the rules of galactic engagement. The aliens thought they were coming to subjugate a primitive species. They had no idea what was coming. The countdown had begun. Earth was about to show the universe exactly what it meant to wake a sleeping giant. The first broadcast came at 300 hours GMT, a simultaneous emergency transmission that cut through every communication network on the planet. World leaders, who had been moments ago arguing about trade disputes and territorial tensions, found themselves staring at irrefutable evidence of extraterrestrial invasion. In the United Nations emergency session, something unprecedented happened. The American ambassador looked directly at the Chinese delegate and said 3 words that would change everything. "We're with you." Within hours, the impossible became reality. The Global Defense Initiative wasn't just a military strategy. It was a complete reimagining of human potential. Silicon Valley tech giants redirected entire manufacturing ecosystems. Russian space research facilities opened their most classified archives. Chinese quantum computing labs began collaborating with MIT researchers in real time, sharing breakthrough after breakthrough. Dr. Elena Volkov, a Russian quantum physicist, found herself working alongside Dr. James Chen from the United States and Dr. Aisha Okonkwo from Nigeria. Their team represented more than just a collaborative effort. They were humanity's first true global task force. "We're not just building weapons," Elena explained during their first joint briefing. "We're creating an entirely new paradigm of technological defense." Their first breakthrough came unexpectedly. By combining advanced machine learning algorithms from 3 different technological approaches, they developed a communication system that could predict and counter alien communication frequencies before they could be fully established. What would have taken decades of traditional research happened in less than 72 hours. Military budgets were instantly repurposed. Entire economic systems were restructured. Countries that had been bitter enemies weeks ago now shared classified research with unprecedented openness. The International Space Station became a global command center, with representatives from every continent working in perfect synchronization. General Marcus Chen coordinated the global military response. His strategy was deceptively simple: turn the entire planet into a unified adaptive defense mechanism. Manufacturing facilities that once produced consumer goods were rapidly converted into weapon and spacecraft production lines. Every satellite, every communication network, every piece of infrastructure became a potential defensive asset. The economic transformation was equally dramatic. Billionaires who had once competed now pooled their resources. Elon Musk's SpaceX facilities merged with China's aerospace programs. Russian mineral extraction technologies combined with European renewable energy innovations. The result was a technological synergy that defied all previous limitations. "We are no longer separate nations," United Nations Secretary-General Dr. Amara Diallo proclaimed in a global broadcast. "We are a single species facing a challenge that will define our existence." Underground research facilities sprang up across continents. In the Australian outback, a team of materials scientists developed nano-adaptive armor that could restructure itself under attack. In the mountains of Peru, a group of indigenous engineers created quantum communication relays that could operate beyond known technological limitations. The Vorkax monitoring systems, designed to detect resistance and predict subjugation timelines, began to malfunction. The data streaming from Earth made no sense. Instead of the expected fragmentation and panic, they were witnessing something entirely unprecedented. A species transforming itself at a rate that defied all known evolutionary models. Humanity wasn't just preparing for war. It was becoming something entirely new. The countdown continued, and the universe was about to receive a message it would never forget. The abandoned oil platforms of the North Sea would become humanity's first line of defense. What once seemed like relics of a fossil fuel era now transformed into the most advanced shipyard in human history. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood on the central platform, her augmented reality display mapping out designs that would have been considered science fiction mere weeks ago. "We're not building ships," she told her team of engineers, materials scientists, and former naval architects. "We're building living weapons." The UES Defiance, humanity's first true quantum-adaptive warship, was more organism than machine. Its hull incorporated nanomaterial technologies that could self-repair, reshape, and respond to damage in milliseconds. Traditional spacecraft design gave way to a completely new approach: ships that could think, adapt, and evolve during combat. Massive asteroid mining operations, previously considered economic long shots, now became critical production centers. The Belt, that vast region between Mars and Jupiter, transformed into humanity's primary shipyard. Automated mining drones worked around the clock, extracting rare materials and processing them using AI-driven refinement techniques that made traditional manufacturing look like child's play. In the lunar facilities, Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura led a team developing quantum entanglement communication systems. Their breakthrough meant that human ships could communicate instantaneously, sharing tactical information faster than any known alien technology could intercept or decode. "Each ship is a node in a living network," Hiroshi explained to General Chen during a briefing. "They don't just fight. They learned from each other in real time. The first prototype sections of the UES Defiance began to take shape. Its design defied every conventional understanding of spacecraft engineering. Modular sections that could reconfigure mid-battle. Adaptive weapon systems that could transform based on enemy attack patterns. Quantum shields that didn't just block damage. They analyzed and neutralized threat frequencies. Rebecca Liu, a 28-year-old propulsion engineer who had been working on experimental fusion drives, found herself at the center of a technological revolution. Her team developed a drive system that could manipulate space-time itself, allowing for maneuvers that would make traditional physics look like a child's drawing. "We're not just building faster ships," she told her colleagues. "We're creating vessels that can literally rewrite the rules of space combat." Across the globe, every available resource was channeled into the shipyard efforts. Abandoned automotive plants in Detroit, decommissioned oil rigs in the Gulf of Mexico, closed semiconductor factories in Taiwan. Each became a critical node in humanity's most ambitious manufacturing effort. The scale was unprecedented. In just 6 weeks, humanity would produce more advanced spacecraft than the entire Galactic Alliance had created in 6 decades. Each ship was a testament to human innovation, unpredictable, adaptive, and fundamentally unlike anything the Vorkax had ever encountered. General Chen reviewed the initial designs. What he saw wasn't just a fleet. It was a statement, a declaration that humanity would not go quietly into the night. Each vessel carried the hopes, the anger, and the unbreakable spirit of a species that had been underestimated for far too long. The first complete section of the UES Defiance rolled out of the lunar fabrication facility. It didn't look like a traditional spacecraft. It looked like a living weapon, sleek, dangerous, with lines that suggested movement even when perfectly still. The Vorkax thought they were coming to conquer. They had no idea what was being prepared to meet them. The Vorkax strike force entered the solar system with the confidence of a predator approaching defenseless prey. 4 massive motherships, each capable of obliterating entire planetary populations, moved in a precise geometric formation that had subjugated thousands of civilizations across the galaxy. Aboard the lead vessel, Supreme Commander Vexlar reviewed the standard annexation protocols. Humanity was classified as a Class D civilization, technologically primitive, politically fractured, with minimal space capabilities. The initial assault would be surgical, overwhelming, and complete within standard galactic engagement timeframes. What happened next would rewrite every understanding of first contact in galactic history. The UES Defiance materialized seemingly out of nowhere, not through traditional faster-than-light travel, but via a quantum displacement technique that the Vorkax tracking systems couldn't even comprehend. Captain Maria Rodriguez, her hand steady on quantum adaptive control interfaces, initiated the first engagement. "Target locked," her AI co-pilot announced. But this was no ordinary AI. It was a quantum neural network that learned and adapted faster than any biological intelligence could process. The first volley came not from conventional weapons, but from a completely unexpected vector. Quantum-entangled communication nodes began broadcasting a series of complex algorithmic patterns that simultaneously attacked the Vorkax communication networks, weapon systems, and navigational controls. 3 massive Vorkax cruisers found their primary systems compromised before they could even initiate defensive protocols. Shield harmonics collapsed. Weapon targeting systems began firing randomly at their own formations. Navigation became a nightmare of conflicting input signals. Supreme Commander Vexlar watched in growing horror as his perfectly planned assault dissolved into chaos. These weren't the actions of a primitive species. This was warfare beyond anything in the galactic combat archives. The UES Defiance moved like nothing the Vorkax had ever seen, not a traditional spacecraft, but a living weapon that seemed to anticipate enemy movements before they could be executed. Its hull shimmered and adapted, nanomaterials restructuring in real time to absorb and redirect incoming weapon fire. "Impossible," Vexlar muttered, his tentacle-like appendages frantically working communication systems that were rapidly becoming useless. Captain Rodriguez's voice cut through the chaos with chilling precision. "This is Earth," she broadcast on all Vorkax communication frequencies. "We're not asking for permission. We're serving notice." The fourth Vorkax cruiser attempted to retreat, but found its faster-than-light capabilities completely neutralized. A series of quantum-locked gravitational fields, another technology completely unknown to the aliens, began to compress its structural integrity. In less than 17 minutes, what was supposed to be a simple annexation became a complete decimation of the Vorkax strike force. Dr. Samantha Rodriguez watched from the Earth-based command center, her team of scientists and military strategists maintaining absolute silence. The first engagement was more than a battle. It was a message, a declaration that humanity was nobody's prey. "They'll send more," General Chen noted, his voice calm and analytical. Samantha's response was immediate, "And we'll be ready." The universe had just met humanity, and humanity was nothing like anyone expected. The Vorkax High Command convened an emergency session that lasted precisely 17.3 standard galactic cycles, their equivalent of human hours. The first human engagement had not just defeated their initial strike force, it had completely shattered every known model of technological warfare. Grand Strategist Krellmax Prime projected holographic battle analyses, her neural interfaces working overtime to process the unprecedented defeat. Each replay of the human counterattack revealed layers of technological complexity that defied their most advanced computational models. "They adapted faster than our predictive algorithms can calculate," she noted, her voice a low, resonant vibration that carried the weight of centuries of galactic dominance. Humanity, meanwhile, was just getting started. In a converted research facility beneath the Atacama Desert, Dr. Elena Rodriguez led a team that was rewriting the fundamental understanding of technological development. What would have taken traditional research teams decades was being accomplished in days, sometimes hours. Their latest breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A young engineer named Kai Wang, who had been working on adaptive machine learning algorithms, discovered a way to create self-evolving technological systems that could modify themselves in real time. Each piece of technology became a living organism, capable of learning and transforming faster than any known computational system. The Vorkax plasma shields, technologies that had rendered countless civilizations defenseless, were systematically dismantled. Human researchers developed quantum resonance frequencies that could penetrate and neutralize the most advanced alien defensive systems. Faster-than-light communication networks, hacked and repurposed within weeks. Quantum encryption systems, transformed into open-source adaptive networks that could predict and counter any alien intrusion. "We're not just matching their technology," Dr. Rodriguez explained during a global briefing. "We're completely reimagining the concept of technological warfare." Military strategists worked alongside quantum physicists, machine learning experts, and material scientists. Traditional boundaries between disciplines dissolved. A neural network specialist could find herself working alongside a weapons designer, creating technologies that blurred the lines between biology, computing, and warfare. The Vorkax tracking systems began to malfunction. Every time they developed a new weapon or defensive strategy, humanity seemed to have already anticipated and countered it. It was as if the humans were reading their technological playbook before it was even written. In orbit around Jupiter, the next generation of human warships took shape. The UES Defiance was no longer a single vessel but a concept, a distributed network of adaptive, self-learning spacecraft that could reconfigure themselves mid-battle. Each ship was less a vehicle and more a living, thinking weapon system. Grand Strategist Krellmax watched in growing terror as their most advanced technological models became obsolete almost instantaneously. Humanity wasn't just fighting a war, they were conducting a real-time technological revolution that rewrote the fundamental understanding of innovation. "They're not following any known rules of technological development," one of her advisors noted, mandibles clicking nervously. Krellmax's response was quiet but definitive. "Then we'll need to create new rules. The technological arms race had begun, And for the first time in galactic history, the Vorkax were no longer certain they would win. The Vorkax had conquered civilizations across 3 galactic sectors, reducing most to client states through a combination of technological superiority and psychological manipulation. Their combat algorithms were designed to predict and neutralize resistance with mathematical precision. They had studied thousands of species, cataloging their psychological weaknesses with clinical detachment. Humanity was their first true anomaly. Dr. Aisha Okonkwo, a brilliant cognitive neuroscientist turned unconventional warfare strategist, understood something fundamental about human nature that the Vorkax could never comprehend. Unpredictability wasn't a weakness. It was the most powerful weapon in existence. "We're going to fight them with something they cannot understand," she told the assembled team of psychologists, military strategists, and AI specialists. Controlled chaos. The Psychological Warfare Initiative began with seemingly impossible strategies. Human ships would deliberately expose what appeared to be critical vulnerabilities, only to spring elaborate traps that decimated entire Vorkax battle groups. Communication broadcasts contained layers of misdirection so complex that alien decryption systems simply broke down trying to analyze them. In one engagement, a human fleet appeared to retreat, only to reveal that their retreat was actually an intricate maneuver that positioned quantum-entangled communication relays throughout the alien formation. The next transmission carried a psychological payload that completely disrupted the Vorkax chain of command. Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez, leading one of the most unconventional warfare units in human history, had developed what the team called adaptive psychological algorithms. These were not traditional combat strategies, but living, breathing systems that could read and manipulate psychological responses in real time. "We're not just fighting their technology," Marcus explained during a classified briefing. "We're fighting their entire understanding of conflict." The Vorkax tracking systems began to malfunction in ways that defied logical explanation. Human communication patterns seemed to follow no discernible strategy. One moment, a fleet would appear completely vulnerable. The next, it would transform into an unstoppable weapon of unprecedented complexity. Grand strategist Krellmax found herself facing a fundamental crisis. Every computational model, every predictive algorithm, every piece of strategic analysis simply fell apart when confronted with human tactics. The humans weren't just fighting. They were rewriting the very concept of warfare. A captured human communication transmission became a perfect example of their psychological warfare. Instead of traditional military communications, it contained layers of mathematical puzzles, cultural references, and psychological triggers that would take years to fully decode. By the time the Vorkax began to understand one layer, humans had already moved to the next phase of their strategy. Dr. Okonkwo's team had weaponized human creativity itself. Every engagement became a performance, a multi-layered psychological operation that attacked not just the Vorkax's technological systems, but their fundamental understanding of conflict. "We're teaching them a new language of war," she told General Chen during a strategy session. "And we're doing it one engagement at a time." The Vorkax began to realize something terrifying. They were no longer fighting a military. They were confronting a species that had turned unpredictability into an art form. Humanity wasn't just resisting invasion. They were rewriting the very rules of galactic engagement. And they were just getting started. The final battle wasn't just a conflict. It was the moment humanity would define its place in the universe. The Vorkax assembled their entire remaining battle fleet, a massive armada that had crushed civilizations across 3 galactic sectors. Over 10,000 ships, each a testament to centuries of technological dominance, converged on the solar system with the intention of total annihilation. What they found was something entirely unexpected. Captain Maria Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, now the flagship of a fleet that defied every known principle of space warfare. Around her, a network of ships that were less individual vessels and more a living, breathing collective intelligence. Each ship was connected through quantum-entangled communication systems, sharing tactical information faster than the speed of thought. "They're coming," she said quietly, her voice calm against the backdrop of controlled chaos. The human fleet didn't look like a traditional military formation. It was organic, adaptive, with ships that could reconfigure themselves mid-battle. Smaller vessels merged and separated like living cells, creating combat formations that would dissolve and reform in milliseconds. Grand Strategist Krelnax watched in growing horror as her carefully planned assault began to unravel before it could truly begin. The human fleet didn't just defend, it anticipated. Every Vorkax attack was met with a response that seemed to come from multiple dimensions simultaneously. Quantum displacement technologies allowed human ships to exist in multiple potential states at once. They could be fired upon in one location while simultaneously existing elsewhere, rendering traditional targeting systems completely useless. It was as if the humans had found a way to weaponize probability itself. The battle became a symphony of controlled chaos. Human ships used gravitational manipulation technologies to create improvised weapons out of the very fabric of space-time. Asteroids became projectiles. Solar radiation was redirected into focused weapons. The entire solar system became a battleground that responded to human will. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, watching from the Earth-based command center, had prepared for this moment her entire life. The technologies they had developed weren't just about winning a war. They were about redefining the very concept of conflict. "We're not just fighting," she told the assembled team. "We're proving something about our species." The Vorkax flagship, once considered invincible, found itself systematically dismantled, not through brute force, but through a level of tactical complexity that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Human ships would appear to be destroyed, only to reform moments later. Weapon systems would be neutralized through mathematical algorithms that predicted and countered attacks before they could be launched. Grand Strategist Krelnax made a final desperate transmission. "What are you?" The question carried the weight of a civilization's dying breath. Captain Maria Rodriguez's response was simple and devastating. "We're humanity, and we're just getting started." In less than 3 hours, the entire Vorkax battle fleet was reduced to cosmic debris, not through overwhelming firepower, but through a level of tactical innovation that rewrote every understanding of space warfare. The universe watched, and humanity announced its arrival. The silence after the war was more profound than the conflict itself. Humanity had not just defended itself, it had fundamentally altered the galactic power structure. The Vorkax Empire, once a seemingly invincible force that had subjugated thousands of civilizations, had been completely dismantled, not through brute force, but through a level of innovation that rewrote every understanding of technological and strategic potential. Dr. Samantha Rodriguez stood before the United Nations Galactic Advisory Council, her presentation both a military report and a philosophical statement about humanity's newfound position in the universe. "We're not conquerors," she explained, her voice carrying the weight of their recent victory. "We're problem solvers." The technological artifacts recovered from the Vorkax fleet became a treasure trove of innovation. Research facilities across Earth began systematically analyzing technologies that would have taken traditional scientific approaches centuries to understand. What emerged was more than just advanced weaponry. It was a comprehensive understanding of physics, communication, and spatial manipulation that would transform human civilization. Other subjugated species, long oppressed by the Vorkax, began to reach out. They didn't see humanity as saviors, but as something far more interesting, a species that had fundamentally challenged the established galactic order. The Zrin Confederacy, a collection of planetary systems that had been under Vorkax control for over 3 centuries, was the first to establish diplomatic contact. Their representatives were cautious, curious, and slightly terrified. "We've never encountered a species like yours," their lead diplomat explained during the first interstellar conference. "You don't just solve problems, you reimagine the entire concept of problem solving." Humanity's response was typical of their newfound approach. Instead of establishing a traditional diplomatic mission, they proposed a collaborative research initiative. Every technological breakthrough would be shared. Every challenge would be approached as a collective opportunity for growth. General Marcus Chen, now heading the Interstellar Diplomatic Court, understood the deeper strategy. "We're not building an empire," he told his team. "We're building a network of collaborative innovation." The technologies developed during the war began to transform human society. Quantum communication systems that had been designed for military use now promised to revolutionize everything from medical research to environmental restoration. The adaptive AI systems developed for warfare found applications in solving complex global challenges. On Earth, the war had done something unprecedented. It had completely unified the planet. National boundaries became increasingly irrelevant. A new global identity emerged, defined not by geographical limitations, but by a collective commitment to innovation and exploration. The Vorkax communication archives, when fully decoded, revealed something shocking. Humanity had been monitored for decades, consistently rated as a low-threat, primitive civilization. The reports that had deemed humans unworthy of serious consideration now became a source of dark humor among human researchers. "They thought we were weak," Dr. Elena Rodriguez would often say, a slight smile playing on her lips. "They didn't understand that our greatest strength is our ability to transform weakness into opportunity." As the first human interstellar exploration vessels prepared for launch, it became clear that the war was not an endpoint, but a beginning. Humanity had not just defended itself, it had announced its arrival on the galactic stage. And the universe would never be the same again.